OKC a 9.5-point favorite. The total in the game, 224.5. This is by far the shortest total that we have seen so far in this series. The under is 3-1. It really should be 4-0. I was on the over in game 2. That game really should not have gone over the total. So they're starting to make some adjustments. Under 224.5. OKC a big favorite at 9.5. Then Indiana, I mean, they missed a golden opportunity. It looked like they were going to go up 3-1. Just could not get anything going in that fourth quarter. And even more amazingly was the fact that OKC covered the spread as well in that game 4.
Shot selection was unbelievably poor. It just felt like they had no flow on offense for the final 3 minutes of the game. It was a, here, you take it style of offense. And they settled for deep threes, which you don't need to. It felt like they were just looking for a spark and hoping that the first one would then lead to an entourage or a splurge of threes, and they just completely out of their depth. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think he had like 15 points in the fourth quarter. He went over his 33.5 prop, by the way, so that was very nice. But it was just poor offense by Indiana to close that out. That was, as you mentioned, PJ, a golden opportunity. Because being tied 2-2, going to OKC, is not a great spot to be in. It's totally different if you're up 3-1. Mm-hmm. Like you are on forget cloud 9, you're on cloud 90. Like you are so high above OKC at that point. So they really missed out. I hope there's some sort of bounce back there, but we're seeing the problem that I have been trying to point out as much as possible in the lead up to this series. Indiana does not have a legitimate takeover guy. We can have a debate on who Tyrese Halliburton is as a superstar, a star, what have you. They don't have a takeover guy because when it was time to go get a bucket late in the game when it was tied, OKC said, SGA, carry us. You're the MVP, carry us. And he did. For Indiana, they don't have that. Pascal Siakam's not that guy. He has championship experience, but he's not a legitimate championship number 1. He's a number 2, maybe 3A, if you get what I mean. But they just don't have anyone to do that. Tyrese Halliburton's not that guy, and you saw that. That's going to make it really, really difficult because now you're in a best of 3. You're tied. It's, hey, the next team to win 2 games is going to be hoisting a trophy. You still like your spot if you're Indiana, seeing as you were this massive, massive underdog. But until you have someone that can take over, like you can't be relying on Andrew Nembhard to be your saving grace or an Aaron Nesmith. It's great for a game in the Eastern Conference Finals, but this is the NBA Finals. You need Tyrese Halliburton to be the takeover guy, and he does not have that.
Does not. And yeah, I mean, look, again, I thought this series would be over in 5. I thought OKC would win it in 5. It's amazing to watch the difference in their offense on the road and at home. Just like how when they are on the road, they can go through these stretches where they are really struggling to score the ball. And you've seen that in Game 3 and Game 4. Now, credit to them for finding a way to win Game 4. It felt very similar to the series against the Nuggets. When they were down 2-1 in that series, they needed to win Game 4. They came from behind in the fourth quarter to do it. Feels like the same thing. That series went 7 with OKC winning it at home. I could kind of see this thing going the same way where OKC wins it in 7. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow night because Indiana has been such a great team on the road this postseason. And now they've played 4 games against Oklahoma City, obviously. So each team's, the familiarity is there. They know each other well. I think the big thing for me is, again, the fourth quarter scoring, Denton, like you mentioned it. I mean, that was the big difference in Game 4 was each team has their guy that they lean on in the fourth quarter. SGA, obviously, for OKC. Halliburton for Indiana. And Halliburton didn't show up in the fourth quarter. SGA did, made all his clutch free throws, made some big shots down the stretch, and that ended up being the difference. So that to me will be the big thing. I would honestly look at over 34.5 points for SGA in Game 5. He's just a much more efficient scorer, much better scorer at home than he has been on the road this postseason. I think if you were looking at a player prop, that's the guy that I would look at. I mean, no, it's a high total, but it's high for a reason. To figure out which guy on Indiana is going to be the guy on the road is tough. Miles Turner's had some good games on the road. Tyrese Halliburton has not. I think he's going to be more aggressive, though, in Game 5. So it's a tough one. I mean, from a prop perspective, there's not really anything I like And from a spread perspective, to be honest with you, Denton, there's really not anything that I like either. I think probably Indiana team total under is the way to go, just because that building is going to be on fire tomorrow night, and Indiana's really struggled to consistently score on the road in OKC.
That 9.5 number is just gargantuan. Yeah, the books have loved OKC for really this entire run, but it just feels so difficult to go into a finals matchup and say they're going to lay 9.5. Because then what you're effectively saying is it's going to be a blowout. And one of the nice things about this series so far is that we do not have a ton of the blowouts.
Right.
Because OKC has had multiple blowouts throughout the course of almost every single series that they played in, and I'm hoping we don't get a barrage of those to close this series out. My hope is that Indiana bounces back and they take a 3-2 lead. I want this to go 7, PJ. I want it to go the distance. Part of that is selfish because it makes my job way easier. It makes your job way easier to have basketball go on as long as possible into the month of June. But I'm very, very worried that what happened on Friday was it. That was the final straw. That was their last hope. That was their last stand. And now you are going to see why everybody was so heavy on OKC being the runaway favorite here to win. Because I did pick the Pacers. I had the Pacers in 6 games. I had the Pacers in 7 games.
I think I'd probably lean OKC, though, if I had to at 9.5. It's just, for a team as good as they are, for as great as they were during the regular season, I mean, it is amazing to watch how different they are at home than on the road. I mean, it's like watching 2 completely different teams, especially on offense. You know, their defense is so good, and when they get the home crowd to back them and root them on and give them that extra boost that leads to their offense, they're just a different team. So I would probably lean OKC minus 9.5 if I had to bet it. I don't love anything. I do kind of wonder if the over might be the play as well, over 224.5, because again, the lowest total we've gotten in this entire series, Denton, was 227.5, and now we've moved down 3 points. For a game, by the way, in Game 4 that looked like it was going to fly over and then ended up going under the total. So Game 3 was the same way. I mean, those games just slowed down in the fourth quarter. So maybe the bet to make is the fourth quarter under is what you do. But again, the problem with that is the game in OKC. I mean, it's not going to be as high scoring as probably what it would be in Indiana. So I think it's a tough game to bet then. So I'm staying away.
Yeah, it's props or nothing. And there's only a few guys that you like. One of the things that I've found to be fascinating is that Chet Holmgren has not put together a complete game yet.
Right.
You know, he had 20, I think it was in Game 3, but he had 15 in the first quarter and only 5 the rest of the way. If he is supposed to be your 2B, assuming that J-Dub, Jalen Williams, is 2A to SGA's very clear number 1, you haven't really seen that. I mean, Caruso was the guy that was kind of their saving grace in game number 5. He had 20 points and 5 steals. The guy was insane. He's putting on for the ball community. We love to see it. But Chet Holmgren just really hasn't been that guy. You want to see a little bit more from him, but the fear is, as someone that's wagering on the Pacers, once you start to see more from Chet Holmgren, the series is over. Because that's been one of the saving graces for Indiana, is that he just hasn't been exceptional.
But OKC, once again, 9.5-point favorites in Game 5. Total is 224.5. And OKC did what they had to do. They got to win on the road in Indiana, even the series up, best of 3, 2 games potentially at home, and they got a great spot to win the NBA Finals. OKC back to minus 625 to win the finals. What I would look at, the market that I would look at, the series to go exactly 7 games is plus 115. Series to go 6 games is minus 140. I think the 7 games is probably the way that I would go. Do you think it's going 6 or 7?
I'm hoping it goes 7. My fear is that now it's going 6. And it's going to be OKC on 6.
Okay, so you think it's going to go? I think it's going to go 7 games. OKC to win the series in 6 games, minus 1.5 is minus 110. You want to bet the series spread. So a lot of different ways to still bet the NBA Finals.